So then, what we're going to do now is we're going to use some of those mechanics that we've just set up earlier to have our character defeat some enemies. Just for good practice, I'm going to go through this with you. Going to create a new sprite, and this is going to be our enemy. We're going to have a dragon in our game. That's the reason why poor Hector's got a bang on his head. He was attacked by a dragon. So SPR_dragon. I'm going to edit the sprite. I'm going to do file and create from strip. I'm going to grab our dragon sprite. Remember again, all these can be pulled from Moodle. There's a section you can pull that down. Now, even though this isn't an animated strip, I'm still going to use the same strip technique to take a cookie cutter from one that I want here. So I've got an image width. I happen to know that's about 120, and I happen to know this is about 80. God bless practicing in advance. So what we've got here, this is going to be our evil dragon. We'll decide on a name for evil dragon later, because I think Dragono is probably a terrible name, but come up with a name. Come up with your own. Going to create an object to do with our evil dragon. And have an evil dragon that's got the sprite associated to it. And we're going to get our dragon to be following a path. Rather than just having them move in a random direction, they're going to follow a path. This is great if you wanted something in your game, perhaps that was like a Metal Gear Solid type experience, where there are enemies that follow paths and you had to go around them, or you're trying to get through a prison, or you're trying to do anything. So let's do paths. We have a path that we can create a new path in exactly the same way we did before. I'm just going to go with path 1, to be honest. I'm sure there's a naming convention. You'll notice though you currently can't really guess where you want to draw your path out. So what you have to do that is you click on this option here, indicate which room, onto the main map, then you can draw onto the main map where you want it to be. And our evil dragon is going to be patrolling these 3 trees here. So it's going to start there, it's going to go over to here, and it's going to go back here again. And we're just going to have it follow this path. If you're trying to make perhaps a tower defense type experience and you want it to be following a straight line rather than a loop, you can turn closed off here, and that just creates a straight line for you. You can add as many lines as you like, and you can physically code in values should you want to. You can click and move points if you put them in the wrong place, but it's fairly straightforward how this can work. So now we're going to get our dragon following that path, and this is going to follow the path once it's created. So we're back on the dragon object, and it's going to be following a path. Path underscore. A sign, probably. Yep. Path start. That's what we're going to do. Sorry, path underscore start. And again, that was me checking the documentation to make sure I'd got it right. The documentation is incredibly useful. Path underscore start wants to know 4 different things. The path, the speed, end action. That reads, by the way, guys. I always used to think, what is induction? But yeah, that's end action, and then absolute. Absolute means, do I want to snap to that point? Do I actually want it to physically go to where the path is, no matter where I place it in the room, and follow it absolutely? More times than often, yes, you do want that. Or do you want them all just to follow it as a rough, follow the shape, but not necessarily go to the position? That's what we want. So I want to know the name of the path. I'm going to have it following path 1. The speed I want it to travel at, I'm going to have it travel at a speed of 7, just because it's a number, we can change that later. End action. I'm going to show you what end action does. What here does, if we look at the documentation for it, so path underscore start for GML. Again, if you haven't used these techniques before, if you're uncertain about something, use the documentation. Well, by documentation, you might wonder what I mean, which I mean, Google it. And the Yo-Yo Games website, who the people that make Game Maker, tell you what all of these things mean. So path, the path index to start, the speed of which to follow, pixels per step, and then end action, what to do when it's reached. And then you should get a full-blown list of all the different things that you can get it to do. So stop, restart, continue, or reverse. So we're going to get it to continue from the current position. Oh, let's do restart, actually. We'll just get them snapping right back to the starting position. So that's what I want it to do. And then absolute. Yes. I have a horrible feeling this is going to bin, but let's try it out in a second. So this room, because I'm on the path, sometimes look like your room and you can get really confused, because I know I do. So I'm just going to tick off to leave the path, and then I'm back to my room, but they do look very similar. Now notice, no matter where I put my dragon in the room, so I'm just going to put them up the top right hand corner to show you that this will work. Yeah, that's what I thought. So what this actually does here, guys, and the reason why that crashed, is path action underscore restart. It actually wants a numerical value that corresponds to where it is here. So 0, 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to try putting in a 2. Let's see what that does. So if I go down here now, do I have an angry looking dragon? Yes, I do. There's a deliberate problem with angry dragon. Let's see if we can chase him. Look at what happens when he goes behind the tree. We have the same problem we had before, which is doesn't really look particularly good. And also notice that it's going around the point of origin, the top left hand corner. So I'm going to go back to my dragon, and I'm going to say don't have the point of origin top left hand corner, center it. And what I also want to do with dragon is I want to give it a depth of 1. If you remember from the earlier videos, what this means is display further away than those trees. So this means it should always be going behind those trees. There we go. I haven't quite got the path perfect, but you can see we're getting a nice effect of the dragon going behind those trees instead, which looks a little bit better. Now we're going to set up a combat system with our dragon. We're going to keep it simple for now. We're just going to have Hector shoot some bullets. So I'm going to create a new sprite, SPR underscore bullet. I'm going to do the same trick I've done before, which is I'm going to edit the sprite, create a new sprite, and this is only going to be 4x4 pixels, really teeny tiny. Double click on that, and I'm just going to fill it in red. You can fill it in any colour of choice. I just want to really make this obvious for you guys what's going on. And then I'm going to create obj underscore bullet. The magic's going to happen around here with our bullet. What we're going to say is when the bullet is created, we want it to travel in a direction. And we want it to go in whichever direction Hector is travelling, our player is travelling. So we're going to set a speed for whatever you want your bullet to go at. Because our dragon's going at 7, probably makes sense for our bullet to go at 10 so it can catch up with that evil dragon. And we're also going to give a direction. Now I'm going to set direction. Keep in mind I'm in the bullet object here. So my bullet's direction is going to be equal to whatever my player's direction is when I shot. obj underscore player dot direction. Remember that dot is called the dot operator, which retrieves information about the object we're looking at. So object player, what was that thing's direction when I shot? And then I'm going to go back to my player. We're going to add in a good old-fashioned key press, and when I key press space, we're going to create an instance of a bullet. You guys should know how to do this by now. So if you can, pause, do it, test it. Okay. You should have had instance underscore create, and then it wants 3 properties: spawn where I am, my x and y coordinate, and the object we want to create is obj underscore bullet. God bless spell check. So now what we're going to do here is I'm going to shoot my bullet, and you can see that it's spawning the top left of Hector because that's where its point of origin is. If you want to change that, go to your sprites for each of your characters' direction and center every single last one of them. If they're not all perfectly married up, you'll end up with some very odd animations. So that's now affected Hector's starting position, and now as we shoot, it kind of comes out from the center, which is a bit more appropriate. So what I'm going to say now is we need to say when the bullet collides with the dragon, something is going to happen. So the dragon needs some HP. So we're going to go to our dragon, on create, and I actually am going to do some setting up of variables. So I'm just going to give it a name again so we can keep a record of it. Set up variables. I'll sometimes call them parameters, but variables are their proper term. We're going to set up a HP for our dragon, and it's going to start at 50. This is going to be a low level dragon, easy to defeat, only going to take 5 shots to get rid of. The thing that's going to be interested here, and what we would have done in the previous Space Invaders games, which said hit it, destroy the bullet, do 10 points of damage. But now every time the bullet touches the dragon, we want to do however much damage Hector can do. And remember, the amount of damage Hector can do is kept record in his starting settings. This damage output value here that will increment every time he kills a dragon, he will level up. and we'll go from there. Could well be we choose to disregard this XP variable for today and we just have him level up every time that he kills a dragon. So we are going to say now, every time the dragon gets a collision from the bullet object, you could put this in the bullet object if you wanted to, I just think it makes more sense to put it here. Every time the dragon collides with a bullet, with the other thing, we're going to, well, you've guessed it, get rid of the other thing. Instance_destroy. And we also want to take away enough HP from the dragon. So I'm going to type HP here. Remember, that refers to the HP of the dragon. So because we are in the dragon object, that's the dragon's HP. Minus equals, and this is where we're going to get interesting. We're going to take away the damage output that player does. obj_player dot damage output. Assuming I've spelled that correctly, and that's going to take away however much damage we're going to do. And then we're just going to have some simple logic like we've done a few times now. If our HP is less than or equal to 0, we're going to get rid of our dragon. Instance_destroy. Now what I am certainly going to do is I'm going to test this. Now we could absolutely draw health bars on our dragon should we want to. We could display that information wherever we wanted to display it, but I want to run this in debug mode. And I'm starting to wish I hadn't made my dragon so difficult to catch. Really useful. In debug mode you can pause it. So if things are moving too quickly around screen, you can do that. Show local variables, hover over the evil dragon, 1014, and that returns his HP. We can see at the bottom there, which is 50. Now I'm going to unpause the game. I'm going to shoot the dragon. Shoot the dragon once. It's now 40. It's now 30. It's now 10. Next shot should destroy him, which it does. No such instance exists. Tells me that I've managed to destroy the dragon. Brilliant. Next thing I want to do is keep a record of that. So when the dragon collides with the bullet, if you have successfully destroyed the dragon, level up. Actually, that deserves capitals. And probably some decent sound effects. We'll do sound effects at some point. So we're going to keep a record. We're going to upgun Hector. So what we're going to do now is we're going to say obj_player dot. And what we're going to do now is we're going to upgun his level. So he's now going to go, his level is going to go up by 1. Currently, this will do nothing, because this little bit of logic that I had here, which is HP, take away the amount of damage output that we're doing, that's just taking away 10. But if I take away 10 times by my level, suddenly what I'm doing down here makes sense. Leveling up becomes level 2, we're doing 20 damage, and then leveling up by 3, we're doing 30 damage each time. So what I'm going to do now in our game is I'm going to put a bunch of these dragons in our room, but this time I'm going to tell dragon when it's created, when we follow our path, remember this one here, absolute, I'm not going to follow absolutely, and this will give you a clear visual representation of what this actually means. So I'm going to put one dragon there, one dragon there, one dragon there, and they'll all now follow their paths relative to where they're actually placed. Once I destroy the first dragon, well, killing the first dragon should take 5 shots, assuming I can catch up with it, so 1. If you can figure out the bug before I do, go sort it, because I know what it is. What I've done wrong here is I'm timesing it by level. That's the dragon's level. Dragon doesn't have level. OBJ player has a level. Whoops. Try again. So what we're now going to do is we're going to shoot our dragon, or miss the dragon, whichever one the case may be. Shoot the dragon, 2, 3, 3, 3, 4. This, I should have made them slower. And one more shot kills it. So what I'm now going to do with tools and show local variables, going to hover over Hector, and Hector's ID is that 1001. And this tells me that my HP is still 30, we've lost some health, we're now level 2. And you could imagine using the health bar or using the heads-up display to display this information. We're not going to do that together, but you certainly could. So this time it's only going to take a few hits to destroy that one. Regretting having them go off screen, we'll be honest. You, can I destroy you? I should have made a bigger level, or should have been cleverer about this, to be honest. Let's try and destroy one of them. You're going to take a hit. You should only take one more, maybe 2. Oh, he's gone off screen again. When you place your dragons, be cleverer about this. You got rid of it. This one should basically die in 1 shot, maybe 2 shots. I think that dragon's now gone. Nope. So what this now tells us is that we're now level 4. Our damage output is still 10, but every time we shoot something, we're doing 40 points of damage. Because of the way we've chosen to set up the logic on this. Let's try that again. A little bit more obvious though. So I'm just going to take our dragon, going to slow down our dragon. We're going to do a nice slow speed of 2. And I'm going to put a few more in our room. This is just to demonstrate to you guys how it's working. You can put them wherever you like, but they're suddenly a little bit easier to defeat. So I'm going to shoot this dragon 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Defeats it. This one, 1, 2, 3, gets rid of it because that would have been 20, 40, and then 60 points of damage. 60 is more than 50, so it would have killed that dragon. And this one should only be 2 shots. 1, 2, gets rid of it. And this one is again 2 shots. That would have been 240, now it's 80. And this one, hopefully, is going to be a 1-shot kill. Oh. And it is, because we're doing 50 points of damage, which is how strong it is. You could imagine using this kind of system throughout your game. That's basically that in terms of leveling up. The one thing that I would say is I'm not currently using this XP value. The reason I put it in, and you could try and put it into your game, is every time I defeated a dragon, you gain some XP, and then once you'd earned a certain number of XP, your level incremented. But for our purposes, I'm going to completely get rid of that. Just leveling up every time you defeat something works fine. If you're at that point, guys, you're doing really well.